Today we're going to be doing our tints and shades painting part of the process for our feathers. So you're going to start off with, your supplies are going to be your 3 strips of paper with your name and room number on each paper. Go ahead and flip those over. You have your paint brushes. You're going to have a tray with your paper on it, and you're going to have a palette that's going to have the color you choose with 2 chunks of black and 2 dollops of white paint, and that's going to allow you to create your tints and shades of your one color. Your palette will look white. This is the one I'm using at my house, so this is what I'm using. So you're going to start out by taking your paintbrush and mixing a little bit of, a tiny little bit of blue that's going to mix in with your white, and that's going to be your first color that you're going to put on your actual sheet. You're going to go right off the edge of the paper, and I'm just going to start with the middle one. I'm only adding a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of the color to white, and I'm going to stroke it right across my paper like this, making sure I get enough paint. And I'm going to go all the way down the page getting darker. So each time I'm going to add a little bit more blue into my white to make it a little bit darker, going all the way down my page. And you can see how I'm going to try to gradually, this is actually a little dark, I'm going to gradually go down, and each time adding a little bit more blue until when I get halfway down my page, I'm going to start adding black. So you're going to start seeing a shade. Right now it's just, we're tinting the color by adding white to the color. It's going to be getting darker as we go down the page. This is my palette for mixing my colors. So I'm going to be going all the way down my page, making that darker as I go. You can see I'm just using my paintbrush to mix the colors. I'm not making a huge mess. But if it's not dark enough, I add a little bit more blue or whatever color you're choosing to make it a little bit darker. So as I go down my paper, you can see that that color's gradually turning darker. Now I'm going to start adding black. And when you start adding black, it's going to change that color a lot darker. I put too much black, and that's the problem. I have to get a brush. So I'm going to take a little blue over here, and I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of black to it. And that's the problem with, if you get too much black, you can see I have more black than I have blue. So I'm going to do So then when I start to get now towards the bottom of the page, I'm going to get really, really dark. Going all the way down, and I'm going to add more black. It should be really, really dark blue by the time I get to the bottom. You're going to go all the way down the page. So that's my first paint strip that I did, gradually going down the page. So I have my first paint strip finished, and in the directions were that all 3 strips have to be different. So I don't want my next 2 to look like my first one. So I'm going to start with almost pure white this time, and barely have any blue in it at all. And it's almost going to look like white on the paper. There's going to be a tiny speck of blue. You're barely going to see. And you're going to keep using the same palette. Your paint colors are going to be on a smaller palette. Mine are on a bigger palette because I didn't have a small one at my house. So I'm starting off with a white. I'm going to add a little bit more white actually, get more white. And then I'm going to start gradually going down again, but I want it to look different from the first one I did. So I have to maybe add colors a little bit slower this time. Last time I think I added them a little too fast. And I'm going all the way across the page, going off onto the tray, which is fine. You guys are going to clean your trays when you're finished. And so each time I'm adding a little bit more blue to make that white paint look a little bit darker as I go down. Make sure you're painting across the page and not up and down. I'm going to keep going down my page, making sure I get enough paint. I need to get enough paint on the brush that there's no white paper coming through there. And now I'm going to start adding black. So you get the idea of it. This might be really, really black now by the time I get to the bottom of it, almost black at the bottom. But you can see the difference in the two different strips. And if I've missed some spots, I can go back at the end. Just make sure you have enough paint on your brush so that you're completely covering the paper. You're not using water to clean your brush, you're just going, you probably can just get away with using one brush for this. And by the end, I'm almost black. I'm adding so much shade to it, I'm almost completely black by the end. So I've got my two strips, now I need to do one more. So my last one, I might start dark up top this time with straight black and a little bit of blue. And that was a big chunk. And now I'm gonna have to get lighter, which means I might have to actually use a different brush as I go down. So this one you can see is going to be a lot darker. There's going to be a lot less tint in it and more shade. So I'm actually going to switch my brush now because I'm going to start going lighter. Your palette's going to be smaller, so it's going to be easier for you. But you have the idea, you're going all the way down your page. If you want to get the color lighter, you're adding the tint of white to your color to make it lighter. If you want it darker, you're adding a tint of black.